Are you ready to unlock your full potential and live your best life?
Introducing Change Work by Dan and Dawn.
With over 20 years of experience, we provide personalized guidance, motivation, and tools you need to thrive.
Facing polyamory challenges like jealousy or time management?
Need power exchange or relationship guidance?
Seeking acceptance and growth in your sexuality?
Dan and Dawn bring their long-term success and expertise to you.
We offer a variety of tools to help you thrive, including hypnotherapy, goal-focused mentoring, and spiritual guidance.
We meet you where you are and help you get where you want to be.
Start your journey to success today.
Visit the Erotic Awakening website, click on Change Work, and book your free consultation today. This week on Erotic Awakening, myths about dominance, cool Canada, and we visit the kink list.
Welcome to Erotic Awakening, an exploration of all things erotic. If you are offended by adult topics or prohibited by law, we recommend you stop listening right now.
We want to thank our latest patron supporters.
Head over to patreon.com/Erotic Awakening today and get your bonus content and support the show.
Hi, Dawn.
Hi, Dan.
How are you this fine Canadian day?
I can't decide if I'm cold or warm today. It just won't make up its mind.
It is ranging from I tell you, it's not as bad. For podcast listeners that have been around for a little while, you know that it wasn't that long ago we were in Arizona. My computer thinks we're still there where it's 105 degrees Fahrenheit today.
That's crazy.
For our Canadian listeners, I had to specify Fahrenheit. 105 degrees Celsius would be really, really bad.
Oh, that would be really bad. But we're in Canada right now. I don't know what the temperature is Celsius here.
It's warm. Let's just say that.
It's warm.
Today on the podcast, Dawn, you came across something from the submissive guide that you are going to debunk, or tell me to debunk some things about dominance.
Exactly. So I'm on the Submissive Guide newsletter, and we've had her on here before. Mm-hmm. So
Luna
I feel
KM.
Mm-hmm, so I feel kind of okay with grabbing one of the topics. I mean, after 15 years, I need topics, right?
Sure.
And I thought this was a good one. So this topic is myths about dominance.
Okay.
Because I'm sure there's some myths out there. And, since COVID, we have a lot more people coming into the community. So maybe they are under the delusion of these myths as well. So I thought I would throw them at you as a dominant.
Okay.
To see what you have to say about them.
Okay, sure. Lay them on me.
So after what? God, we're working on 25 years at this point.
We're getting there.
Of doing this. So let's see. So myth number 1. Okay. So, and I'm going to wrap a little bit around this. Myth number 1 is that dominants are mind readers. Okay. So I want to throw it out there that when we first got started, I kind of thought you were a mind reader as well. Mm-hmm. I thought, dominants, they know everything. You're going to be in charge of me. So, of course, you know how to do this, and you know what I need, and you know what I want, and why should I be vocal about it? Because it's really hard for me to speak up because you're a mind reader, right?
Fair. And actually, I understand some of that. A successful dominant, a skillful dominant is absolutely going to be a confident person. And sometimes that can lean into, well, of course I know the answer. And that's where a unsuccessful dominant will lean into arrogance and pretend that they're a mind reader, pretend that they know best. Yes, it is a myth. Dominants are not mind readers. What they are capable of saying, I don't know, tell me more, what do you think? And still making a decision that's best all around.
Ooh, see, I like that. And it can kind of look like mind reading over time as well, right? Mm-hmm. As you get to know your follower. Though what we've also discovered is that over time, followers change. So even though you may think you know something from before,
right,
it may not last 20, 25 years along because everybody's changing.
Absolutely true. That's certainly been my experience with you, is that just when I think I know how you're going to respond to a certain thing, you don't respond that way anymore. And it's because people grow, and at least the relationship style that we do, people grow and change all the time. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, if you were still responding the same way that you did in the past, there'd be probably something pretty awful about my leadership.
Yeah, because we do work on growth and stuff like that. So I can see that.
All right, so we're going to call that first one a myth.
A myth. So myth number 2, dominants always know what to do. And again, as a follower, I kind of assumed that because you were pretty good at the beginning of, I know how to do it all. Or at least it came across that way.
We go back to that whole dominance. Skillful dominance going to be confident, and that's good to be confident. Again, but not getting to the point of being arrogant, right? Same thing as for the myth number 1. The idea is, I don't know all the things, but I am confident to be able to say, if you told me, look, I'm having a problem with my neck, I'm not going to pretend I'm a chiropractor, but I am going to say, go see a chiropractor. I'm going to go see that person that does know the answer. Further, and that leads into, and hopefully there's not a myth that dominants don't make mistakes.
It's not on here, but it should be.
Well, it should be on there, but how you handle your mistake, right? Not only do I not know everything, sometimes I give bad advice or bad direction or just unskillful, right? How you handle that is a big indicator of what kind of dominant that you are. But myth number 2, dominants, they don't always know what to do.
So, but I remember you saying sometimes that you should fake it till you make it. But we've learned something else recently. Fake it till you become it.
Yes.
So I like that too. Even though, the faking it just means be confident that you can fix things if they go wrong or things like that. So
to portray what it is that you're trying to grow into.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
And then take responsibility if you make a wrong decision.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so myth number 2. Myth number 3. Dominants don't get nervous, scared, or feel bad. So in 25 years as a dominant, this is saying that you've never been nervous, you've never been scared, and you've never felt bad.
I've certainly felt bad, but let's come back to that. Have I ever felt nervous? In general, well, of course I feel nervous. Have I felt nervous in a relationship dynamic, though?
As a leader. Yeah, that's how I'm going to put that. As a leader, as a dominant. Have you felt nervous or scared?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had, in the many years that we've been together, I've had experiences with you and with other followers that just went badly. Whether it's handling how you and I have handled polyamory, specifically from my leadership of it, or just managing other relationships in general. I've had some really unfun experiences, even certainly unskillful on my part, and they did not go well. And every once in a while, there's nothing wrong with stepping back and saying to yourself, wow, am I really competent to do this? Am I the competent person that I think I am? Some people would see that as a lack of confidence, but instead what I would suggest is it is perfectly okay to make a step back on occasion. Hell, to be scared, to be fearful. Because if you're never scared, then you're never reevaluating some of the things you might need to reevaluate.
That makes sense. So, but I know that at least at the beginning, we used to have a lot of support in this. So we had cords and NLA and mast and all kinds of stuff, where you could run things past peers and stuff like that. Does that help when you're in those moments?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it helps in those moments when you do screw the pooch, as the kids used to say. Because a lot, if you've got the right people around you, they're going to nod and say, yeah, I've been there too, or I've done similar things, right? And that's very valuable.
Nice. Cool.
The other aspect of that being the fun part was, I would say in the beginning, for the first couple of years, I wasn't scared. I was pretty damn confident that we were on the right path, and it felt very instinctive. It wasn't until some time had passed before I really started to. It's not until you've got a ton of success that you start to wonder and then have something screw up and go, wow, I thought I had this, right?
Do you ever think, I'm just curious, do you ever think that maybe it was luck, or, because I know I stressed you out sometimes with some of the doubt that I had. I mean, I knew I wanted to be a follower. I had doubt that I could be a follower, and be the type of person that you would even want following you. So, to be a submissive or a slave or whatever verbiage you want to use. So I can say that because Dawn, you really should not bring this up because he probably doesn't remember But I came across like our first journal that was back and forth.
Okay.
Where I would express doubt and you would be confused because I would express doubt because you're like, we're on the right fucking path. What's going on here? What do you mean just a slave? What the hell does that even mean? So be confused with some of the stuff that I was going through. But we did make it through it. And it was probably a long time before there was a stumbles, right? To where you might have questioned yourself or something. So yeah, that's how I remember it too. Like marching forward, ho. And then I find out years later that you were faking it till you made it. And I'm like, well, that confidence really showed through. That was actually very beneficial.
And you know what? All starting dominance, you got to fake it till you make it because you're getting started, right? How do you know it's supposed to work? How do you know you're going to get it right? You could have read every book in the world and had the best mentors and everything else, and still, you don't know until you're doing it. It's a learn by experience situation. And the last part of that was, do you ever feel bad? And I guess I did cover that afterwards. I did cover that. I was thinking at first that was talking like physically feel bad.
Oh.
But no, I think we got there.
Yeah, I think we got there too. So myth number 4, dominants always feel dominant. We have talked about this before, but dominants always feel dominant. I'm wondering how you think about it now.
Ooh. Am I supposed to debunk this myth?
Oh, yeah, because it does say it's a myth, right?
So there are occasions, absolutely there are occasions where I take Dan days, where I'd say, I don't want to be in charge of anybody today, and I just fuck off. And there's absolutely days where my perception, and other dominants might have a different perception of this. My perception of this is I have either two ends of the spectrum.
Okay.
One highly dominant on one side, and on the other side is selfish. And where I do move along that spectrum, and I don't know that anybody else would see it that way as that spectrum. But the more selfish I am, the less dominant that I am. And it's interesting to explain that way.
I get that, and
okay.
I can hear it. I can hear it or see it in your head with the way you think about things and the way you've talked about things before. I could see why you would say it like that. So when you're feeling selfish, you just don't want to be in charge of anybody else. You want it to be a Dan day. You want it to, or an hour, or a couple hours, or whatever. So not feeling dominant. But do you ever just not feel dominant at all? I'm not even sure how to word that. Like, I could see you're selfish is how you're wording it. Taking a Dan day. But if I texted you or said, hey, leader, I need you.
Right.
I don't see you saying, fuck off, I'm not feeling dominant today.
Yeah.
You may have squelched it so that you can play.
I think it is more of, and we'll talk later about all of our terminology around ego states and all that kind of fun stuff, right? But I don't think I'm ever not dominant. I think that sometimes I just let that inner dominant rest. Not only rest, but sometimes just to fuck off. Yeah. Because another aspect of Dan, the part that I just want to lose myself in a video game and build a little spaceship and mine some ore, and you're coming over and say, what do you want for dinner? And I'm like, fuck you. I don't want to, just fucking make dinner. That's not dominant, right? That's the selfish response versus turning away for a moment and simply turning and saying, I don't particularly care what we have for dinner. Make a decision and let me know what it is. That's the same message, but it's done as a dominant.
Right.
Adding in one of the areas that you've reminded me of more than once, I need to remember to say, by the way, fuck off. I'm playing a video game. Leave me alone for an hour.
Absolutely. So, because I don't always need your input.
Yes.
But when we live in a 30-foot box, it feels like I'm supposed to involve you in stuff, right? It's just a different feeling than when we live on different floors of a house or something. So when you say, just make dinner, I don't want to be part of the decision, well, then I get to provide service by just doing dinner. And so it's weird how that flips. People would think myths of power exchange, myths of hierarchy of relationships, of power exchange. You can say, go make a decision, and many of us followers will be happy to go make a decision, right? Because we've been told to. So now it's an act of service.
Yes.
Weird stuff. Anyway, okay. So I would like to throw out there. So the myth was dominants always feel dominant, and that was a myth. I want to throw out there that I'm betting there's a lot of dominants that don't always feel dominant.
Sure.
And they have to talk themselves into it and do positive talk and go, I just don't want to make a decision today, but I agreed to be the leader, so that's what I'm going to do. And some don't realize that they can say, no, I'm not making a decision today. My decision is that you're making a decision, and do what I would do because you're my follower and you represent me.
Absolutely. And to, extend upon that, just because I am being silly or doesn't mean I'm not feeling dominant.
Right.
Right. Just because I am fucking off on a computer game, doesn't mean I'm not dominant.
Right.
I mean, and just 30 minutes ago, you saw me squeal.
You squealed and the whole RV rocked.
Well,
what jumped out at you?
It wasn't a zombie. It was a cannibal.
Cannibal.
Yes.
You're playing the other game.
I'm playing the other game, and yeah, that cannibal really did.
So it probably shook when the zombie jumped out at me too.
I'm sure.
for the game I was playing. So yeah, but no. And when you're doing that, I don't see you as not dominant, right? So it's a state of being, not necessarily what you're doing.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Interesting. What's the next myth?
Okay, so next myth is dominants get everything they want all the time. Kind of curious how you're going to answer this one.
Oh, I mean, it's far from true. I did not win any lottos. I did not. I mean, there's plenty of things that I could say. I can't say plenty of things. There are a few things that I want that I have not gotten. Mainly, mainly it's around having more time. In a power exchange perspective, good Lord, no. I mean, how many times have we, back when I was eating Italian food, have I wanted
I was wondering if you were going to say
a gluten-based meal and not gotten it. Now, that's a very interesting.
I see you processing this.
Because I, as a dominant, am choosing not to go to the Italian restaurant so that you can eat. And I will say, this is that one area where I might back up and say I don't feel particularly dominant when we're making eating decisions. As at least 6 months ago when I had a less restrictive eating.
Yeah, but we found ways around that, right?
Yes.
To where you could say, Dawn, pick 3 places and then I'll choose the final one, or whatever. There are options there.
We have an entire language around that.
Yes, which we cover in our book, Hearts and Collars.
Ping.
But I can see where you would want something, but you take care of your follower.
Yeah.
And therefore you don't get what you want, really. I mean, like I said, we've come up with things that can make it be more power exchangey, but you're still putting me first so that I can eat.
Absolutely. And there's many situations where what I want is not what the relationship needs. And that's, and that's the response. That's one of the responsibilities of being the dominant, is that the needs of the relationship come before the wants of the dominant. Now, and some of them simply are not anything in my control. There's so many things, or dominant or not, there's many things not in my control.
All of your followers right now have food restrictions. So
yes. But now that I've got food restrictions too, I'm much less butthurt about it.
Yeah. Well, that's the last myth that I've got here. So those are 5, and you added the extra one, and now I forget what it was, but that's okay.
Dominants don't make mistakes.
Oh, yeah, dominants don't make mistakes. Can you think of any other myths that people might have about dominance?
that we're all good tops and all the good things, that we all like rope bondage. That's a big fucking myth.
People look surprised because even someone recently was like, oh, and of course you're into rope. You're like, no, no, I'm not. Don't like it.
That's the one that I'm going to go with.
Okay, yeah, so that all dominants are good tops. Yeah, that's not necessarily true.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily true.
And some of that, sometimes it's a choice. Dominants don't make mistakes. You know, when it comes to lifestyle, we make mistakes all the damn time when it comes to like simple things like expecting. I thought I understood about a certain polyamory aspect or a certain power exchange topic, or, you know, being able to, you just got to acknowledge that shit, that you are fallible.
Well, how about this myth that dominants don't take advice or listen to their submissives?
Yeah,
that's a myth.
Is it? I mean, that's just silly. But I know not. You know, I can't say it's silly. I know we certainly know relationships where that is the situation. I happen to surround myself with intelligent, thoughtful, skillful followers. So of course I want to hear their opinions and on occasion take their advice, or not only ask them for their view of a thing, but sometimes to just go do the thing.
Yeah. Extension of your will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
Be able to depend on us. I like that one. Can I think of any more? I don't think I can.
Can we do
any
myths for submissives next time?
Sure.
Awesome.
I will pull those up because those are good to discuss too, right? I can think of a lot of at least two off the top of my head.
Here's a myth about this dominant. I know where the hell we're presenting for the rest of the year.
Oh, but I just thought of another myth.
That was a great segue.
I know. Damn.
You're going to chop it out in editing. I know it. But anyway, what is your other myth that you wanted to mention?
So the other myth is that dominance comes easy. Does dominance come easy? Maybe to some, not to all?
I don't know that that's a fair question. My perception of that question is challenging. Instead, I would say dominance is a lot of work, which is different from whether it comes easy or not to me. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of attention to detail. It's a lot of investing your energy in a particular direction.
But that's if you are wanting a quality of relationship. You can be a dominant.
Fair.
And, well, you can be a dominant and it be absolutely easy to be dominant. That doesn't mean you are going to have a healthy power exchange relationship.
Right, but all of these questions we've perceived as with the power exchangey angle of it, of that dominant, right?
True.
Not toppy angle.
That is true. So, no, I was thinking asshole angle too.
Oh, sure,
you can
sure.
be a dominant asshole,
yes,
and it come very easy to you, and not think about other people's needs.
Absolutely,
and stuff like that.
Absolutely. It's certainly a relationship model where it's my way or the highway, and what you want doesn't particularly matter, and that suits some relationships and just isn't our style.
Right. Cool.
That is cool. Now you've got to do the segue now, because I used mine up already.
You used yours up. I might keep that in there too. That was a good one. I don't have a segue. I'm just going to jump into it. I did just put out the newsletter yesterday for June, so this.
I will tell you here. I'll give you a segue.
Okay.
Oh, podcast listeners, you might have heard last week's show where we said all the places we're presenting. Nah, that's an old list now. We've added 3 new.
Have we added 3? Did you put them on here?
I don't know that they're on here, but I will tell you where we have Michigan.
Okay. Coming up, yes.
And another week. Michigan.
Yes.
And then.
Those are in person.
And then where's.
All of these.
They're all in Michigan.
They're all in. Oh.
We have 3 Michigan dates coming up. 2 in Detroit and 1 in Ann Arbor.
Fabulous. Cool. So we have Michigan. Ohio.
Pennsylvania.
Chicago.
Michigan.
Kansas City.
Las Vegas.
Arizona.
And Minnesota.
So as far as we know, there's probably more coming, right?
Yes, there is.
So keep up with all our events, book news, discounts, and more via the Erotic Awakening newsletter.
And get your EA shout-out like Gus from Canada.
Who we just got to meet. That was fabulous. Michael from New Jersey.
David in New York.
Lily from Georgia. Hyacinth
from Illinois.
Lupa from Colorado.
Lou from Ohio.
And Joy, who is one of
Hi,
our
Joy.
patrons.
Absolutely. Long-term friend now.
Yes, from Ohio. So
head over
really
to the
cool.
brand new eroticawakening.com and subscribe today.
Awesome.
And you're right. We did just, as we've mentioned a few times now, we are currently just about 30 or 40 kilometers. Kilometers? Yes,
I don't know.
kilometers short
It took us,
south of Toronto.
Or something like that. It took us an hour and 45 minutes to get into Toronto.
Yes,
so
but that was because, we were going to an event in Toronto, and I made the mistake of leaving an hour for a half-hour drive, and somebody said, yeah, that's a rookie move in Toronto. That's not how you drive around here, buddy.
No, that was crazy because we left at, like 6:45 in the morning or something like that, and had to be there at 8.
But as we always say, when we're traveling around, wherever we are, if you're a podcast listener in the area, feel free to come by, and we'll hang out and drink a sparkling water in this case. Mm-hmm. And we did, and Gus from here in the area in Ontario came by and hung out at the RV with us for a little bit.
Absolutely, and we talked about the Kink starter cards and all kinds of stuff.
And they gave us a fantastic tour guide list if we get it back into
Toronto.
Well, if we get out of the RV, it's all kinds of good stuff all over the place.
We've been it's been raining and raining, but you know what? I feel like opening up this blind behind us because it's green. We are just in a green spot. There's no other RVs that we can see around us. Even the way they've got everybody angled, you can't see each other. And we've got a fabulous section of land here.
Absolutely.
Bunny rabbits in the morning. There's like no reason to leave. The only reason I would want to leave, okay, I have one complaint about Canada.
Go on.
Casinos.
Don't like the ones you found so far.
The ones I have found so far, it's all bright fluorescent lights and like it's quiet.
Yes.
There's no bings and bongs. I like the bings and bongs and someone's winning and yay and all these things. And we walked in and we're like, it's quiet.
It is. It was.
I'm
it was
afraid
very
to talk.
strange.
You could actually like hear each other talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
My only complaint. Otherwise, it's beautiful.
A very courteous area.
Yes, it was a very courteous area. We'll be going through Windsor soon, and if I remember right, that casino is pretty loud and I remember this because you, me, Big D, and his wife came up for a poly picnic where we all taught. Us and Karen, and I think it was the 5 of us, came up and taught at a poly picnic, and then we stayed over in Windsor, and me and Big D went to the casino.
Oh, okay.
That one's loud.
Yeah. I will tell you one more casino story from this area. We were up here a long time ago. It might have even been our honeymoon. And we went into a casino, and they had just gotten rid of the idea of you get quarters back from the slot machines.
Oh, yeah.
Instead, it was a little piece of paper that was printed.
Right.
But it made the noise when you won of quarters going dun, 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 dun.
It still does that.
Do you remember, older podcast listeners, used to have these plastic cups you would walk around with full of quarters?
Oh, yeah. I remember the big gulp cups.
Yeah.
So I remember that. Man, don't touch my quarters. Don't split up the quarters. That makes you lose. I learned that many times. So Toronto, Canada, that is where we're at the moment. Don't like the casinos here, but I've only tried 2. And otherwise, we're just hanging out here.
Beautiful area. We've managed to explore a little bit of the area up here when we've gotten out a smidge. And most of the time we've spent here, Dawn, you are now have 2 hypnotherapy certifications.
I do.
And I have 2 as well. Mm-hmm. But you are currently working on number 3. But I am signed up for my next one in July.
Awesome.
And we are just enjoying the heck out of this educational opportunities that we've had.
Absolutely, especially since it layers on so many years of things that we've already been doing, right? So now we're just certifying it and learning a few more skills.
It is so
fascinating.
Yeah, it is so much fun to go back to some of the classes that we've written 10, 15 years ago, like poly-pagan bondage sluts.
Oh, that one's 22 years old.
And to see, what we were teaching about ego states, and we were teaching about the importance of this or the importance of that. And it's like, wow, we've been teaching this shit for years. Now we have the words for it, right? The neurolinguistic programming and the different language patterns and all this kind of stuff.
Been doing it for years.
Yeah, so it's been really interesting. And just finding something that I've been interested in. I mean, obviously, chemical play was a lot of fun to learn. now learning not just hypnosis for kink, but hypnosis for therapy as well has been really interesting, and has led actually to me opening up my creative mind a little bit. I finally jumped on the Erotic Awakening website, and which I've been
kind of tweaked it and redid it.
Tweaked the heck out of it. Made it all pretty all over again.
It looks nice. It's got some visuals to it that I like because, again, I like the bings and bongs.
Yes.
So I like the moving screens, and so that's kind of cool. Oh, lots of work.
So, Dawn, in about 12 years ago, I think, on the podcast, we started to look for these lists. And, there's lists all over the place. Like Cosmopolitan magazine will put Cosmo, I don't know what it's called. Cosmo?
Cosmopolitan.
Magazine will put out top 18 sexual positions to make your man enlisted.
Right.
And
do you know why else I was looking for a list like this?
Why is that?
Because I just did an online class on creating your own personal user manual.
Oh, right.
And I was trying to find these lists and so that I could recommend them to the people on the call. And came across one that I really, really liked. And by the way, I am going to throw it out there that I did record that class, and it is also on our website.
Fantastic.
Along with 27 other classes.
You are a class recording fool lately.
I am. I've been doing it for 8 months now, and yeah.
But it's kind of funny that we think you've taught, I don't know how many classes online now, and at some point we said, why aren't we recording these so people can watch them later?
Well, the other thing is that I was teaching the same classes over and over and over again because I felt they were really important, and I really wanted people to learn all this basic stuff. But that meant we had these more advanced classes that weren't getting out there that I wasn't able to do because I couldn't do 10, 12 a month. Right? I was doing 2 or 3. So by recording them, that gets them out there, and now I get to make new classes, and like the user manual one.
And it's great to see you're passionate about it.
Yes, I'm having a blast.
All this rolls back to understanding that as we've talked about before, right? We talked about chemical play and hypno kink 15, 10, 20 years ago and had an opinion about it.
Right.
And that opinion's changed.
Yes.
So we're going to go through one of our many alphabetical lists, talk about the kinks on there, and see if our opinions have changed. And I think you're going to be surprised at some of the changes. Some of the things that I think that you used to dig, you won't be so excited about anymore.
Or vice versa.
Absolutely.
Vice versa. And I actually talked about this on, we're talking a lot about the stuff that we do. We're just all excited about it. But I also run an online group once a month called OWL, Older Women in Alternative Lifestyles. And one of the things that we've been talking about is how now that we can't physically do some of the stuff that we've been interested in for so many years, we need to find other things to do because we've been so interested in the things that we could do. We haven't kept our minds open to the other possibilities. They've just kind of floated by as we've concentrated on certain things. So now many of us on the call are looking at other things that we hadn't even thought of before. So I think this one comes into play that you're getting ready to say. Are you curious if I'm interested in this one still or not?
Not this one particularly.
Okay, but maybe some other ones.
But let's start with this one. So enough preambled on. The kink for the day is abduction play. Ooh. So my first thought was, have you ever done abduction play? And I already know the answer to that. I don't know if you remember it. I'm going to I don't know if we would call it abduction play.
Oh, I think I just thought about what you're thinking of.
Okay.
But so abduction play, the way I'm thinking about it originally, so let's say if you go to an outdoor event. I know Trist used to do this, and maybe Dark Odyssey, I'm not sure, but it's usually outdoor events.
Yes, Dio used to do it as well.
Okay, I don't know who's still doing it, who's not, but they would set up abduction scenes. So you would sign up for it, that you were willing to be abducted. You would list your hard limits, and then sometime during the event, you don't know where it was going to happen, who it was going to be. You might end up with a bag over your head and you're being carried off kicking and screaming. Right? So abduction play.
Yep. And then what happens when you get taken wherever you're taken to?
Whatever is not on your list. Your list is your hard limits.
Right.
So, it could be whatever. Sometimes they would ask for, what do you want to happen? And that way the people doing the abductions know that they're still in a box in a boundary, and everybody's going to have fun with it, even though it's abduction.
Yeah.
So at the very beginning of us doing this, that used to excite the hell out of me, right? And we found out that my tentacle kink has a lot to do with abduction play.
Yep.
Episode 100 with Naylin. Yes, with Naylin. He figured out that I like tentacles because they're not human, but I like abduction play. So I really wanted, at the very beginning, I was terrified of having this happen, really wanted to sign up for it, but knew if I heard anybody's voices, I would then think badly about them. Which is so bass-ackwards.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
They're doing a service and you know, feeding on their sadism to do a service.
Right.
And so back then I really wanted it to happen. And then over time, and I'm thinking of a scene where I think that could be considered happening. But over time, I kind of was like, man, I don't know how people can do that. And physically, can I do that? Right? Look how big I am. I'm 100 pounds less now. And you know, could I do that? Could they even drag me off? You know, blah, blah, blah. And then I lost the weight. And, you know, when you lose the weight and you're like, ooh, I can do this thing now, you start to think about things and you go, but do I really want to?
Okay.
I was 100 pounds heavier, so I didn't have to think about it.
Yes.
Now I'm lighter and they could drag me off, but do I want them to? I still find pieces of it really hot, abduction play. But man, now I'm so physically... My hip hurts. I'm afraid of hurting ankles because I have to help with the RV now. I'm afraid of. So kinkily, it still has a very hot flavor to it. If I was looking at porn or something, this would absolutely be the type of porn that I look at.
Okay. But when it comes to actually doing it.
But when it comes to actually doing it, there's so many cons that I don't know. Like physically getting hurt.
Yeah. I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never had the desire to sign up on to a group of people that do the abduction play. It just doesn't do shit for me.
See, the thing that I like about it is the being used, not the necessarily being dragged off and whatever. So I like the free use sort of aspect out of it. But the one time that I thought that was going to happen, it didn't happen, and I was very disappointed. So you made it happen, and that was a fucking hot scene. So that was the witch hunt.
Yes.
So the witch hunt was kind of like abduction, not necessarily, but kind of like it. It has the free use part put in there. So I had a witch mark at this one event, but no one knew me there. So when they caught me and I was supposed to be punished, yes, I had put things on a list of things that I wanted to have happen, but no one really knew me, so they didn't feel comfortable doing the things that I had put on the list.
Right.
So, this is going to be a longer episode than I thought. But you set up the witch hunt. Spoiler alert, if you have not bought Sex Stories and Power Exchange, I do talk about the witch hunt in there, and it is one of the real stories. But Spoiler. But that was fantastic, and that was people capturing me and doing things to me because I was the witch that needed to be punished. Yeah.
And thumbs up.
Fucking hot.
5 stars.
Thumbs up. 5 stars. 5 out of 5.
All right, so that's abduction play for you. One of the things that you still are into, though, is tentacles.
Absolutely, and it's because of all this. It's because of that monster grabbing, taking, fucking, all that stuff. So tentacles. Everybody's sending me tentacles again.
Yes,
Yay.
I see that.
So Minotaurus sent me, it's tentacles reaching out for a yawning girl. So it's just like a comic. Tentacle glass dildos, of which I do own one. So one of those that he had posted. And then he posted like it was like a TikTok sort of thing. That was a tentacle coming out of a hole in a wall. It was really gross and disgusting. It had to be AI. There's no way it was real. It had to be AI. And then Enigma sent something, and I went back to look at what it was, but Tumblr had taken it down.
Bastards.
So I know. W. Socrates was a link to Tentacle Academy 2 comic book. Trevere was Tentacles and Boobs. Awesome,
comic of cooking
stuff.
Some food on boobs. So thank you, Trevere. Somebody's doing the food on boobs for me.
But it was like a superhero that gets super, super hot. So she was cooking bacon on her boobs.
Right. I'm good for that.
Cool. I'm good with bacon and boobs, and I would lick all the bacon off of the boobs.
Be a part of the Erotic Awakening Podcast community.
You can support us on Patreon and get early access to the podcast, a free version of the audiobook Polyamory Toolkit, free ebooks, member-only Discord access, and more.
Find all the goodies at patreon.com/eroticawakening today.
Help others find us. Take a moment to support the podcast. Rate us on Apple Podcast, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you listen.
Join the conversation with other EA users. Use the links on the Erotic Awakening website for our growing Discord channel.
Feel free to reach out to us. Contact us with questions, podcast comments, or just to say hi.
We are Dan and Dawn on FetLife.
Erotic Awakening on Instagram.
Or just email us at dananddawn@eroticawakening.com.
Bye, Dan.
Bye, Dawn.
Bye, everybody.
They've left already.